Welcome to the She is a Nourished Mom podcast, where we talk about all things self-care, motherhood, and faith for the Christian mom who wants to transition from worn out to winning as the mom and woman God called her to be. I'm your host, Dr. LaToya Wiggins, but please just call me LaToya. I just want to be your mommy friend and sister in Christ as I teach you how to no longer feel depleted, but how to develop healthy habits to be nourished, renewed, and rejuvenated with biblical principles that bring peace instead of self-pity. Now let's get nourished together. Hey mamas, I hope you enjoyed the series on thriving in single motherhood. Now it is time for our next 3-part series on balancing marriage and motherhood. This episode is going to focus on the self-care challenges that these mamas face as married moms, trying to balance it all. Stay tuned and I hope you enjoy. We are talking about balancing marriage and motherhood because it's a whole lot going on when you have these little ones and you're married, because we got to make sure that we are nourishing all parts of ourselves and all those people in our lives also. So before I introduce my lovely guest speakers today, I want to talk about the word balance. So I said balancing in marriage and motherhood because a lot of people tend to hear that word most often, the balance, right? But let's remember, no matter what word you use, when you talk about balancing anything in life, it's never, probably if ever anyway, never even slices. If you think about a pie and you divide it up, balancing is not going to be equal pieces. Slot pieces, slice pieces, pies. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Equal pieces of the pie, right? You know, so if you think about your marriage, your personal stuff, your personal development, your self-care, your children, other relationships like your friendships, your business or career, each one of those areas of your life, they're probably not getting equal attention. And it is okay. Balance is not going to really exist. What I like to say is we need to create harmony or good rhythm. I'm not sure, but I think it was Chasity who we just did a podcast interview recently. Somebody had mentioned another word. One of my mamas, they might mention it, but whatever you want to call it, it's really getting a good system going on that really helps you feel aligned, makes you feel well nourished, and those people that are important to you, they're being nourished too. That's why we talk about self-care, because it allows us to pour the best of ourselves in everything we do. So with that being said, welcome Stacie and Chasity. Hey ladies.
Hey.
Yes, so ladies, so go ahead. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for joining me for this conversation. I go way back with both of these ladies. Me and Stacie and I, we met a few years ago at an event, and then we kept on pretty much. Actually, she met with me at one of my self-care events, and then we've just been connecting even on, outside of just events, just with business and other important things to us. Chasity, I met her recently in our Command the Stage group, and these ladies are bomb, y'all. So anyway, go ahead and introduce yourselves. I'll start with you, Chasity.
Hi, ladies. I am Chasity Bowers. I am a wife, a mom, and I'm also a mental health therapist. I specialize in helping women to boss up their faith. And besides wearing all those hats and being not part-time, but a full-time mental health therapist, I am also the founder of a faith-based community called Boss Up Your Faith. And in this community, I'm able to bring awareness to women by showing them how their faith and their mental health both go hand in hand, and how their level of faith can affect their overall mental health, in which I know this personally to be true because I dealt with depression, major depression myself. And I also dealt with being, a young mother, a single mother, and all these different type of issues of trying to find purpose within myself. So I'm able to share my tools with women to show them that they can reach those heights and mountains and move the mountains as well.
Sorry, I always have a hard time finding the unmute button. And Stacie, yeah. So Stacie, go ahead and introduce yourself. Look, we rocking and rolling with this technology some kind of way.
Yeah, so my name is Stacie Connor. I am, as you see, I'm a WOA mom, which is combining women and motherhood. We are more than just moms, wives. We are women too, which I'm excited to dive into this topic and conversation of really embracing all of who we are. But in addition to that, I'm also an author. Recently launched a prayer journal, but I'm also a real estate agent. And recently, over the last, I guess, 4 days now, I'm officially a full-time real estate agent where I just took that leap of faith and exit the 9 to 5, complete leap of faith. And I'm sure we'll dive into a little bit of that, but part of that had something to do with being, a married mom. I was burnt out and told my husband, I was like, what would you do if I just, quit tomorrow? He was like, do it, do it. That's simple. And so just in what I do it's about serving other people. Everybody's talking about real estate and all that good stuff, but for me, it's serving people, educating people through what I do. I'm not here to beat over anybody's head whether they should move or not, but it's about doing what's right for you in the time that it's right for you to do it. So I'm excited about this conversation we're going to have today.
Yeah, shout out to all the supportive husbands that help us, support us with following our dreams. So, ladies, since we are talking about self-care, I always like to ask everyone, what does self-care mean to you? And we'll just start with that. What does self-care mean to you? And pretty much just the benefits that you have seen it do in your life. And we'll start with you, Chasity. Keep it going around in the circle.
Yes. So basically, to me, self-care is just taking care of yourself, being able to take care of all parts of you. For me, I define my self-care in the season that I'm in right now, because self-care can change, depends on what season you are in life. And right now, with me being a wife and a mom, all the way in another state, away from my close friends and family. I've been out in Georgia for 2 years, and I'm building my community, because community is important to me, and it leads me to what I'm trying to say right now is that my self-care for me in this season is having time to build a community that's outside of my family, that's in my home. So I have my community of my Boss of Faith women and my prayer group. But I get with them virtually, kind of like what we're doing now. So I get with them virtually 3 times a week for prayer. This most definitely is good for me. And I love us like coming together for prayer. But I know I also need community physically. So I'm in the works. I've been going to God about it, about like getting, because I'm in the mental health field. So I like know a few therapists out here that I, been working closer with in different places so far. So I'm like, okay, God, I want to like get together with these women and do like some type of brunch. Like I think we all will vibe together. We all in the same field. We can like feed off each other and just talk about other things. And so he was like, do that. He was like, you're seeking community, you're seeking people to connect with when you already have touched base with a different group of women that you can potentially build something close with. So a lot of times we're out seeking for help, and God's like, just look in front of you, utilize your resources that you have in front of you. So self-care to me is community. And it kind of brings me to when you and I was talking, Toya, how after Mary in Luke 1, after Mary found out that she was gonna be the mother of Jesus, and she was like having a whole episode like, me, I'm worthy to be carried the baby that gonna be the keys of the Lord. Honey, a few days later, she went right over to her cousin Elizabeth house. She went right on over there, and she was about to jump. She went right over there to him about 3 months. She had community and self-care for. He said she didn't go married and go back home until 3 months later. So I'm not looking for that type of much community. to be away from my home for 3 months. But God I just need 3 hours, Lord. Just give me 3 hours with a group of loving, faith-loving women, and we can enjoy each other company. And I will feed off of that. So right now, that's what self-care means to me and my chapter in my life, and that's what it looks like for me.
Yes, community is so important. A lot of times, I love that you didn't mention it, which is all about you. A lot of times people think about self-care as just being by themselves. And, oftentimes they're thinking about getting their hair and nails done, which can be a form of self-care. But what's going to really, give you some peace and some joy. And for you is that community piece. It's not about being by yourself, but sometimes you just need to be around other like-minded women, some women you can cut up with, laugh, chill, relax, whatever. Sometimes you all can just be with each other and be quiet. But as long as you just kind of around.
See, I enjoy that gut from the gut laugh.
Right.
I love used to call me a giggle box in high school. I just love to laugh. Like even when I was going through some grief and depression with my last pregnancy a couple of years ago, I was just watching Bernie Mac. I was then watching Bernie Mac, and my husband like, "Girl, it's been 2 days. You still watching Bernie Mac?" I'm like, "It's just funny." I'm just cracking up laughing. So I love to hang out with the girls. So I get one of them good laugh. I'm gonna feel light on my feet, honey.
Right. Look, I need to be screaming. Look, as my mother would say, hooting and hollering. Tears coming out the eyes. Yeah, all of that is good for your soul. And what about you, Stacie?
Yeah, for me, self-care, self-love. I think it first comes from really knowing yourself, knowing what you need, what you like. So I'm all about community as well. I went through this phase, especially last year, where I just felt like I didn't have community because I was, going through a lot last year. And it's like, who do you reach out to? Who are those close connections? And Chasity, I'm similar to you. I'm, even though I've been here for quite a while, it's like, I didn't have a close community. I mean, I have like LaToya and things like that, but there's like when things are really tough, who do you pick up the phone and call? And for me, a lot of my people are in other states because I'm originally from Virginia, went to school in North Carolina, so I couldn't just run over to their house because of what was around the corner. But I think it's really understanding who you are, and people are like, well, I'm an introvert, so I don't need community. We all need people, but introverts, you might need to step away from community at times, but we all need community. I am very much an extrovert. I love being around people, but there are times that I need to be an introvert. Sometimes I need a break from the people, even as an extrovert. But I think it's when you know when you know who you are, you understand. Like I say, self-love is filling your personal self-love tank. What are things that you can pour into yourself and not depending on other people to pour into that? Yeah, trust me, my love language is words of affirmation, so people can tell me great things about myself all day long and I will receive it gladly. But I can't depend on people to always, affirm and pump up everything that I'm doing. I need to be able to do that for myself, and I need to be able to seek God, but that's truly where it needs to come from and not from everybody else. But I think it is really understanding what it is that you need. I know words of affirmation, but I also have to realize that I can't constantly be seeking that from everything because you're not always going to get it. So it's like, how can you continue to encourage yourself when you're not getting those external confirmations that you're doing the right thing all the time? But I really feel like it's like those little things that are going to fill that self-love tank. Sometimes it's just sitting in silence for a while and today was a beautiful day outside. And for me, it was just soaking up some vitamin D naturally and just enjoying the outdoors and just being grateful for that. And it doesn't take long. You can take 1 minute and give yourself some self-care. Just 1 minute, take some deep breaths, step away, step outside, just let the sun hit you real quick, and then walk right back in and get back to whatever it was you were doing.
Me and this mute button. But yes, I love that. So I heard a few things. So for both of you, you're not originally from where you currently live, so that community piece has been a big thing, you know, for your self-care, for that self-love. Um, Stacie, you mentioned the love languages, you know, like your love language is to fill up your tank. You love affirmations. You want to be affirmed. I
Correct.
also love that you mentioned that you can't always depend on other people for that affirmation. You know, so sometimes you do have to remind yourself of who you are in Christ. And it's that's so funny because this week I'm actually doing a challenge, biblical affirmations, you know, and one of the reasons why I started doing that was because we can have the positive affirmations. Of course, you know, you like you said, it feels good to be affirmed by somebody else, but we can't always depend on that. And of course, trying to pump ourselves up doesn't always make us feel great too, because it's coming from you. So, you know, as a woman of God, it's always good to affirm yourself, you know, how he sees you, you know. So I love that you even mentioned that. And then, like you said, just doing those things that fill up your cup. Yeah, here in Baltimore today, the weather is beautiful. I was only outside for a few minutes just to get my hair done to and from the car, but even just that car ride, just having the nice fresh air. Oh my gosh, like it feels good. So, like you said, just soaking up some vitamin D, getting some fresh air. Like you said, sometimes just sitting and quiet. Self-care looks different for each one of us. We have those different things that, like you said, fills up our tank. And those are the things that we just have to be intentional about making time for. So, speaking of making time for it, what you all kind of mentioned some of the challenges, for example, like not being you know, around a lot of people right now. You're still growing and meeting new people in a new place that you're in. What has been some other challenges with you prioritizing self-care as a busy mom and wife? And we'll actually start back with you, Stacie.
Yeah, so I think the challenges, I feel like now the challenges, it's just, you know, I feel like things are so different now that we are, I don't know if we're out of a pandemic, I don't know what it is right now, but we're no longer shut in, I'll put it that way. Everything's not shut down, social distancing. So I feel like the challenge is, it is less of a challenge, I think, because we've been out of that phase for so long, is getting reconnected to community. My slogan is connecting community one home at a time. So I feel like we've really lost that sense of community. And for me, it was so bad that I literally wanted to move. I was like, look, we're moving either to North Carolina or to Virginia, where my comfort zone, where where the people are that I know. But I was like, I was praying on it, and God's like, you can create community here, and I was like, and what really has stuck to me is that, I was looking for other people to reach their hand out and saying, hey, come hang out with but sometimes you have to create it yourself. And so I feel like for me, the challenge is just, putting yourself out there to create the space for the self-care and the self-love. And really one of the biggest challenges I think with having kids was that I always felt like it had to be by myself. It's like, how do you find the time to do what you need, and you always try to do it by yourself or things like that. And of course my kids they're preteen kind of age now, but as they were younger, sometimes you have to involve them into that self-care routine. Yesterday, my good friend is up from North Carolina to visit because her son's on spring break and he was going to his grandmother's. But yesterday, me, her, and the kids, we went to go eat. We went and got our nails and feet done. My son got his first pedicure. At first, he was like, "Is it gonna hurt?" But you know what? That's self-care. They had a good time. We went and got some ice cream at some those oversized and mason jars that they fill up with all the ice cream and stuff. So, we had a good time, and I had some self-care. It doesn't always, self-care doesn't mean it has to be by yourself at all times. So I feel like, this at times probably the biggest challenge, I think, probably for most moms, is time. How can I do what I enjoy? When I was younger, so I also make jewelry on the side. So when my kids were younger, it was like, dealing with beads, and I work with clay, and I was like, how do I do this and have a young child. So they had their own little table. They had my broken like stuff that I wasn't using anymore, and I gave them some stuff, and they would play, and they would be less out of my way. But you have to get creative, I think, in those challenging times. I think time is probably one of the biggest challenges.
Yes, I agree. Most of the time, if not all, that's the main thing that comes up when you ask somebody why, what's getting in the way of them prioritizing self-care. I don't have the time, or I don't know how to make the time. And I love that you mentioned, because I tell moms this all the time. Although we love our quiet time, we are not going to always have it. So, like you said, we have to be creative.
Yeah.
I know it's been even years, we've discussed that, you and I, sometimes just trying to have that quiet time along with God. You call yourself waking up early in the morning to get it done. And then as soon as you wake up earlier than anybody gets up at any other time, here comes your child. And it's like, really? You're never up this early until I wanted to get up. Now you're up. Now what? We discussed that. Sometimes you just got to figure out what to do. I remember years ago, my 6-year-old, I think it was probably 3 at the time. Sometimes he would wake up early. And first it was like, I would get frustrated, like, ugh. But then I noticed sometimes, like when I was journaling, he would go get a piece of paper, start scribbling. And it's like, oh, okay. So I can do that. Like I'm journaling and he's scribbling or drawing, so he thinks he's pretty much doing what I'm doing, So a lot of times, like you said, we just got to get creative.
We do.
So we can continue to have that alone time, not get frustrated for one, but just make it work for however long it is. And go ahead. Were you saying something?
Yeah, I remember when I was studying for my master's at one point, and of course, I had work to do. I had homework I had to get done. I had study I had to get done, and my daughter wanted to be around. So she went and got her book, sat next to me, and she studied too. I don't know what she was studying, but you have to get creative and try to find to make them feel involved.
Yeah.
You don't always have to be. And sometimes it's hard finding things that they can do that you don't have to be over them and supervising. But I think also finding things that we can do to, sometimes we have to multi, that people say no one doesn't multi. I cook dinner and I put some earbuds in my ear and I would listen to a podcast. I would listen to an audiobook. I would just listen to some music that I can listen to that is not, Thomas the Train sing along or, what is it? Kids Bop. I want to hear adult bop sometimes. So sometimes we have to, we have to do, when you're in the grocery, put some earbuds in, go for a walk. Sometimes I'll just take my laptop and go outside and work,
Yes.
So, yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, so true. And you also mentioned, just finding things to do with them. Sometimes we don't just have to, like you said, listen to the kid bop or, just the annoying little things that, it's okay. Of course, you want your kids to be entertained, let them do their own thing, but you can also find that time, create that time to do something that everybody enjoys. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to watch Paw Patrol all day long. Like, okay, we watched Paw Patrol long enough. Let's find something for the whole family. A lot of times it's, we feel like we always have to sacrifice, and it's not the case. Of course, you're going to have things you enjoy. Your kids are going to have their own things that they enjoy, but it is okay to come together and then have some, quality time together. And that is self-care. You're nourishing yourself. They're nourishing themselves. You're all nourishing each other while you're spending time together. So, we have to get out the habit of thinking that self-care is only alone time. Again, it is great to have alone time, but we can't just constantly sacrifice our time each and every day and feeling, we're feeling miserable, we're stressed out, depressed, but we're not doing those little teeny things that we can do to pour into ourselves. So that's so important. And hey, Sharla, we got Sharla coming in, joining us. So go ahead and introduce yourself to our moms. Once you find the mute button, I know I struggle too.
I know I kept clicking on the purple thing like it was just supposed to. Well, I am Sharla. I am a wife and a mother. There's 7 children altogether. I've been married for 14 years. Um, my husband and I have our own business, and our dogs just had 10 puppies the other day. So which is why I'm late, because I came over here and sat on the couch like I didn't have anything to do, and then I realized what time it was. I was like, oh crap, it's 7 Eastern time, I'm late. But I'm here. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Look, I know that's why we having this chat right now. Balancing the marriage and motherhood. So look, relax for a moment. Relax. It's your self-care time now.
Right.
So while you relax, we're gonna go ahead and move on to Chasity. And what we're talking about right now is those challenges that we've had with balancing self-care or finding that time for self-care. And we also, if anybody wants to answer this, y'all can all jump in. VR says, I work from home full time. I'm married with a 7-year-old daughter. I'm trying to balance it all, but it's overwhelming. Looking for ways to balance housework, working from home, mom duties, wife, and self-care.
It's tough. It's tough. I work from home. Like I said, I just left my corporate job, but I was doing that working from home. I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, but really finding ways. I think when you're working from home, if you can take breaks, it is key to take breaks. If you have, I know for me, if you have, for me, my Wi-Fi kind of, luckily it was strong enough to go at least to my patio or my porch. Sometimes I would just go outside and work, or if you have a hot spot. But I think with the kids, with the housework, involve them. At 7 years old, they're old enough to start taking on some chores. For my kids, I hate unloading the dishwasher. I can't stand it. If the dishwasher, I want the dishes to be pristinely dry so I can go from the dishwasher. I hate having to dry, clean dishes. That the machine's supposed to do that. So between the kids, I need this emptied because I refuse to do it. Folding laundry, it doesn't have to be folded perfectly. My kids, sometimes I don't even know if it gets folded, but it gets put away. But they know how to wash their clothes now. So involve them in the housework. You do not have to do all the housework. I'm not sure if you mentioned if you're married or not. For my husband and I, we used to try to do, put all of our clothes in a pile and do all of our laundry at one time. We gave up on that too. I do my laundry, he does his laundry. That way it gets done when you need to get done. If it doesn't, then you just don't have any clean clothes because I'm doing my laundry and you're doing yours. So really, I think it's just figuring out what's going to work for you guys and your family, delegating those house chores. It doesn't have to pristinely clean every single day. Trust me, I find a spare sock in my couch several times a week. I don't know, there's always one, just one sock. I don't know how they don't notice. They only got one sock on their foot, but yeah, it's all my couch it's the home of lost socks. But yeah, just take a breather, step away when you have to. Like I said, do the stuff that works for you. When you're cooking dinner, put an earbud in. Nobody knows it. The kids don't know. I'll put your earbud in there. Put one in one ear and the other one don't have anything. So it's like you're listening, but you're also enjoying some music. My son will talk all day, and I still won't have a clue what he's talking about, even if I was listening. So he's not looking for an answer. He just won't talk. So that would be my thing. Really, just take it one step at a time, one day at a time. And when you're working from home, you have to find ways to, especially if you don't have a whole lot of interaction with other people in your job, You know, I know we used to do, what is it, like a power hour? People just hop on Zoom, go on mute, you know, maybe every 15 minutes pop up, say, hey, just chat to take a break, and then pop right back on mute and get your work done. Sometimes you just need to be around other breathing people other than your kids. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I love those. So I heard delegating, because a lot of times us moms, we feel like we need to do everything and make sure it's done our way. So we got to start delegating to our kids. You know, it's not going to always be our way. It may never be our way, but they have to learn, for one. You know, that's one of the things I always have to remind myself. They have to learn. And it's so funny you mentioned even like with the clothes. So my oldest son, he's 13 years old. Why am I always folding his clothes, right? And then when I say that, my mom like, I folded your clothes. I'm like, that's true, until I even moved out. But anyway, but you know, he has to learn. So sometimes if it's a lot, especially if I'm getting overloaded, I start separating those piles. So the only people who definitely always, you know, I'm folding their clothes, period, is of course my 2-year-old. He doesn't know how to. 6-year-old, he could learn, but he's still a little bit too wild. But I'll do hours. I'm giving my 13-year-old his clothes. And sometimes, you know, when I'm like putting clothes away, if I'm in a if I don't know, I got time where, you know, I'm just in a good flow, I'll fold some things. And then like recently, I went in his dresser drawer. I'm there switching out stuff, you know, taking out some old clothes and stuff. And I'm like, what's going on with these clothes? And I'm like, so sometimes I have to go ahead and straighten it up. Something I'm trying not to do. But even then, it's like, it's not that bad. And of course, if I didn't see it, it wouldn't even bother me. So it's like, at least they are there. You know, I had to tell him about his socks. Like, why are you folding your socks? He was like having one sock all by itself or whatever. I'm like, you fold it together. You know, so even just those different things. At least you're still delegating. He's doing it. That's one last thing I have to do. You know, and it's not just about taking the load off of you, but again, they need to learn. So start them while they're young. And then that takes us to letting go of that perfectionism. A lot of times we have to stop trying to be so perfect and having things done our way. And am I saying it's going to always be, you're going to always feel that way? I have to check myself, because, you know, I'm tempted to do certain things. And it's like, LaToya, you know, if you start doing this, you're going to stress yourself out more. So like you said, Stacie, a lot of times we have to just realize, look, the house ain't got to be spick and span all the time. You know, a lot of times it's really our standards. You could tell somebody else, you know, like, oh, my house is a mess. And you'll look around like, what mess? You know, I remember growing up with my mom like that. The floor is dirty. And you looking like, lady, this floor is shining. I don't see not one piece of lint ball on the floor. People will come over the house. Girl, your house so clean. You can't tell my mother that. You know, because we all have our own standards. And it's good to have standards. But a lot of times we just have to realize, you know, what do I really need? That's another thing too. What do I really need in this moment? Do I need to rest and relax? Do I need to take this nap? Do I need to go to bed early and be well rested? Or am I going to keep trying to clean up all these things, tackle the pile of clothes that's been there for 2 weeks or whatever? Hey mamas, thank you for tuning in to part 1 of our series on balancing marriage and motherhood. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to the She is the Nourished Mom podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share with a mommy friend who needs to hear this message. Connect with me on social media at She is the Nourished Mom, and let me know your ahas and takeaways from this week's episode. Until next time, keep nourishing yourself, mama.